This is Sports Charlotte, the podcast about sports in Charlotte. My name is Herb White. I'm editor-in-chief at the Charlotte Post. This is Cameron Williams, who's a staff reporter at the Post. And today is Thursday, February 12th, 2026, one day before Friday the 13th. I don't necessarily believe in that stuff, but some people do. Thought I would just bring it up. So, the last time we got together for the podcast, the big story was the Charlotte Hornets and the winning streak that they were working on. The streak is over, but they're still winning, which is appropriate going into the All-Star break. And who would have ever guessed that this was coming? But it's here.
Me.
You guessed it or you knew it?
You said guessed.
Okay.
I mean, no one knew it was coming. But I said a long time ago, back probably early December, that if this team got a healthy roster, they could make a push. And you were like, at the time, they were like 11 and 20 something. You were like, I don't know about that. I was like, just wait. I'm telling you, they could go on a little win streak. I didn't think it was going to be no 9 games, but I mean, hey, they surprised everyone with that one.
3 surprised a lot of people.
I mean, if you think about it, if you go on like a little 3-4 game win streak and then lose one, you're still gaining on the rest of the Eastern Conference. So, but to win 9 in a row, fall in a close game to Detroit, and then jump right back on the horse and win heading into the All-Star break, I think is good for team morale. I think it's just good that they can have a tough defeat and it not domino. And they just get right back on the horse and they start winning, beating teams they should beat. And Atlanta is one of those teams they should beat. I don't think Trae Young was the problem in Atlanta. I'll just put it like that.
Could be Quinn Snyder.
I don't even want. I just think they don't have a point guard. And Trae Young, he could dish it just as good as the rest of them, but I think he might have tried to do a little too much scoring because in the past, I know this is a Charlotte podcast, we'll get back to that, but just a real quick point on the Hawks. Trae Young, it's like he used to have to score 30 for the Hawks to win. Now they've got enough talent around him, or they had enough talent around him.
They had him
to, I think, be more of a distributor, and now they did away with him. And so now they're left with no pure point guard, and you're leaving a 6'9", 6'10" Jalen Johnson to do your distributing duties, and I just don't think it's going to work. It didn't last night, although the Hornets did try to give it away.
Yeah.
But the defense really showed through in the final closing minutes to prevent that from happening.
And I guess when you talk about being in a good place, one would have to assume this is a very good spot for the Hornets to be in, especially when you put it up against previous seasons where they were sellers at the All-Star break. They were just trying to get rid of parts just to be able to have draft picks. They stood pat for the most part in terms of disrupting the rotation because it's a good group, especially that starting 5. And they've got enough ancillary pieces in place to where it doesn't really mess up the mix. And I think that it showed itself quite vividly in the Detroit loss. They were playing a very physical Detroit team, wound up getting into a couple of scraps. And Coach Charles Lee got kicked out for good measure. But I think they won themselves some respect. And everybody in that locker room can now look at themselves as a team and say, well, you know what? We gave as good as we got. And even though they lost, now it's like we're nobody's pushover now.
Thought for a minute there Monday I was watching Ron Artest and Ben Wallace for a minute.
Well, no fans were involved, which is good.
No, well, I will say this. There was a fan kicked out by security. This was after the whole altercation, and Detroit pretty much had the game in hand, and very late towards the end of the fourth quarter. And I look across, and I see this one dude just in this Detroit fan's face, and all of a sudden security, Spectrum Center staff coming over there and trying to escort him away before we did have some action in the stands. But don't call it malice at the palace, just call it jiving at the hive, I guess. It was.
Yeah. But it was I think, a very telling effort by the Hornets to go nose to nose with one of the NBA's tougher groups in terms
and Musa
of
and
physical play and all the other stuff that goes along with it. And Musa Diabate is like, Musa, you're a fairly slim person, so you're getting involved in that. It's like, okay, well, if Musa Diabate can get in there, yeah.
Well, you said go nose to nose. Well, Diabate and Duren were really nose to nose.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the suspensions? Do you think it was fair? Do you think it was well balanced? Do you think Duren got off easy? Do you think maybe Musa and Miles got too much? And obviously Stewart was going to get the most because
he came off the bench.
Well, he came off the bench, but the history, because LaMelo Ball came off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
But he was trying to de-escalate the situation. Stewart came onto the court to escalate
to help out.
Yeah.
But I think the dude who started it should have gotten as much as everybody else. I mean,
but who started it?
Well,
they were drawing back and forth
because Diabate committed the foul. Now you could just say, okay, well, he started because he committed the foul. No, but
they both got in each other's face, so you could say both started it.
Well, if they both started it, why did one get 2 and the other got 4?
Because Musa continued to charge after him.
Yeah, the NBA is ruled, but I just think that if you're talking about 7 games, a pair of guys got 4, and the dude who started it got 2. Something isn't mathing right there. So if nothing else, it should have been 3 4s and a 7, or maybe 3 3s and a 7. If you wanted to split the hairs, but
you know my opinion, I think it should have been 2 4s and 2 7s. In no world should Miles Bridges have continued to incite more fighting, because he was on the court. Moose is going after Duren, and obviously Miles took offense to that. But for him to be them to be separated, and then him shove away one of the coaching staff members, and then go at him and throw a shot, no need for that. Some people say, "Oh, let's stand up for your teammate." No, that's being boneheaded and just wanting to fight. And then Stewart jumps off the bench and charges him because Miles continued to charge after Duren.
Well, but the bottom line, though, is if you're the Hornets, yeah, you're going to miss these folks. You're going to miss them quite a bit. And I think they would have made a bigger difference if they had played against Atlanta. But the other side of it is they won't back down. At least not those two.
Nope. But let's talk about the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. The Hornets have players there.
Mostly Con Knueppel. He's going to be worn out by the time this is all over.
Well, he's playing in the Rising Stars and the three-point contest, but also Rick Chanel is going to be a part of this business, part of the celebrity game. What did you think about that? Because, quite frankly, I kind of like it.
I hope he doesn't pull a hamstring or his wallet. Because that's just going to be...
I wish I could find the video. There was a video out there of Rick Chanel. Well, it was a podcast with Jason Williams, formerly known as White Chocolate. Mm-hmm. You know, that Jason Williams. Mm-hmm. And he was going in on something Rick Chanel said about him. He's just like, you just wait. I'm going to go into the locker room. I'm going to your locker room. And I don't know if it was real beef or it was just a hype up the pomp and circumstance, but I think that could be interesting because I mean Jason Williams can still hoop. I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he can still hoop.
Yeah, well, Rick can get even anytime he likes. Hit him with your checkbook. and it's all over.
Yeah.
Or drop a bag of cash on him or something.
Rick's loaded, no doubt.
Yeah.
Most owners in the NBA are loaded.
They're all loaded. It's just a matter of how loaded.
Yeah. But going back to Khan, we talked about it. We've beat it kind of into the ground about how the Hornets got this pick right.
Mm-hmm.
Right at almost 19 points a game now. Really contributing, not just on the offensive end, which we kind of knew that was his specialty, but he gets rebounds. He plays good defense. Something that, in at least pre-draft scouting reports, they said could be a weakness, hadn't shown to be a weakness thus far.
Well, I guess there's really only one way to tell. You've got to eyeball it for yourself. And sometimes measurables don't tell the whole story. You have to be able to get a feel for folks and understand what makes them tick. And if you're a hooper, you have some intangibles going on there somewhere. So I think the bottom line is, because he played in the shadow, the immense shadow of Cooper Flag at Duke, there was maybe that question of, well, how good can this guy be? It's like, well, you know what? If you isolate him as an individual and you just look at his habits, the way he interacts with teammates, not just in terms of conversations or whatever, but just the basketball knowledge, the IQ, understanding where people are, scheme, time, and place. Those are intangibles that you can't necessarily measure. And he measures up in those areas, which makes taking him a no-brainer looking back at it in hindsight.
Do you think he wins the three-point contest? He is the betting favorite, believe it or not. With guys, I know he hadn't played in a game all year, but Damian Lillard, perennial, known as a great three-point shooter. Donovan Mitchell, who leads the league in threes. Connie's second.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker's in there. Bobby Portis, that was an interesting one because he's a bit of a long shot. He's plus 1,300 to win. But Con is at plus 400. He's got the best odds to win the whole three-point contest. Do you think the lights will get a little too bright? I know.
No.
Well, I know it is a mini game, for lack of better terms, but the slam dunk contest and these used to be really fun events at the All-Star weekend. And I know once guys were able to, do the free throw line dunks and the East Bays and all this stuff, it kind of got a little boring to some, but I think the three-point contest, at least to me, as someone who loves pure shooting, is always going to be interesting. And the whole Mountain Dew ball, the shot from 35 feet or whatever, that's going to be interesting because Dame Lillard is good at those longer threes. We haven't seen Con make those deep threes. He's usually right at, not necessarily a line hugger by any stretch of the means, but he doesn't take the long ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be Dame or Con for sure. And I know that's not a prognostication because they are 1 and 2 in the betting favorites. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if Con can, how efficient he's going to be on the main racks. Because if he misses both Mountain Dew balls, those are, bonus points, and we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that anybody's going to take this stuff especially serious. It's like, hey, it's an exhibition. Now, just don't throw up a bunch of air balls, and totally embarrass yourself. But I think that all of this is a really good showcase for Knipple, and more importantly, I think the Hornets, because they haven't had that national stage in terms of, they hardly are ever on national TV. It's almost like the country is hearing about these guys through word of mouth, unless you're really in tune and watching NBA TV or whatever. So if Knipple can go out and maybe win it, that's all the more reason for people to say, well, what in the world is going on in Charlotte? And the Hornets are actually good. They have this rookie who is really, really good. Maybe not Cooper Flag, flashy or good, but nonetheless, barring injury, he's going to be a stud for years to come.
I think the 3-point contest is much more compelling than the dunk contest this year.
Yeah, I mean,
You
where's
got
the originality in dunking? I mean, but you can just see the pure skill in shooting.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the players that are involved. I mean, you get Jackson Hayes, Carter Bryant, Kashad Johnson, and Jace Richardson.
Who? That's the point.
Yeah.
And that's where, and also, to be honest, the NBA has an issue with the All Star game anyway. The formats have not produced really compelling games. And it's ironic because for like decades, the East West format worked fine. And then suddenly it's almost like the players tuned out and it lost its luster. So East versus West went out, US versus the world, all kinds of
Well, now it's just
stuff is in there.
now it's weird. It's you got USA Stars versus World. You got USA Stripes versus World. You got USA Stripes versus USA Stars. It's like, what?
Yeah.
East versus West, this thing, and let's just get it on. I mean, go old school. Even I didn't even mind the draft necessarily, but then they redid the whole Kobe format where you got to score the first person scored 24 points in the fourth quarter wins and or what whatever, but or you reach the target score. Whoever's leading after the third quarter, you add 24 on, and that's the target score. So both teams still have a chance to win, but I didn't even like that. You can draft them, fine, but still play the game. Play some defense. I mean, this whole 190 to 185 junk, this is ridiculous.
Well, maybe the NBA should take a page out of Ice Cube's playbook and just make it a half-court game.
Yeah.
And do it that way. It becomes purely an exhibition. You don't have to do stuff like, oh, well, this person had X number of points or X number of rebounds and who's the MVP? Well, okay, well, maybe you can still do the MVP thing, but if you do the 3-on-3 half court thing, that way you can even cut down on the number of all-stars.
Yeah, well,
or whatever. So NBA still has some work to do with that.
I understand.
But more commitment from the players would have helped.
I understand not wanting to get injured in an exhibition, all-star hoopla, but at the same time, you want to drive ratings up. Well, Curry and Lillard sitting there taking 35-footers all game ain't going to drive ratings up. And especially, I mean, you got centers sitting there playing no defense and letting dunkers like Mitchell and LeBron and all these guys just go in there and do their fancy schmancy. It's like, we know they can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You're not defending them, and what's the point?
Exactly. And so that's why the NBA is, once again, finding itself in the midst of a tweakathon when it comes to the All-Star game. But like I said, it was fine and dandy until the players figured out, well, you know what? We don't have to go all out for this. Nobody's really paying us that much to do it. And I also understand injuries, and you also understand friendships and things like that. But if the NFL, who kind of runs North American sports, decides, well, you know what, we can get rid of our All-Star game and turn it into something that's a bit more TV friendly without getting our stars hurt, because you're more likely to get hurt playing football than you are basketball in terms of catastrophic injury.
Did you even watch the Pro Bowl?
I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in years.
I don't even know if it was a Pro Bowl or what it even. I mean, it was flag football, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, that was part of it, but they call it the Pro Bowl games. So it's like skills competitions and stuff like that.
Well, they even had that back in the day, with the passing drills and all that. That's fine, but they at least had a game, and it was still somewhat competitive because they actually tried. Now there's no trying, really, in either of them.
Well, but by the end, if you're talking about tackle football, they were even letting up with that. There were the rare exceptions where there was some guy,
Brian Dawkins,
who would decide they wanted to go all out. But they were thinking like the NBA guys. It's like, look, there's no reason to tear up a knee in an exhibition. But of course, you can say that about preseason games too.
Well, my take on it is, if you're going to have it, tweak it in a way that keeps it engaging and entertaining, whether that be actually playing defense or just doing something different. Or if the players are really just wanting to save their bodies and rest, give them 5 days off and just say, call it the All-Star break, but There's no, but that would take away the whole fact of even wanting to be an all-star.
Well, but TV is driving everything, and you've got to have content. And if you just say, "Well, we're going to do an all-star break and not play," TV folks are going to pitch a hissy, and for good reason, because with the billions that they're spending, they're going to demand some content.
But to put a bow on all this NBA talk, because we do have another topic to get to, I think the Hornets are in a good spot right now, 9th in the East. If they keep building on, the good habits that Charles Lee talked about post game last night, just building an identity around defensive consistency, intensity, I could see them having a winning record by the end of the month.
And wouldn't that feel miraculous around here?
It would be very interesting. And then we know March is going to be a bit of a tougher schedule. They do have some talented teams coming here, and they've got to travel to some good teams as well.
Yeah. But they've beaten every team in the top 4 in the West.
Yeah.
So that gives you an indication that they can play with anybody when they're fully engaged. And I think Monday's game against Detroit, it was like, yeah, now we know where their heart is too.
But I think you've got 27 games left. If you go 20-7, they probably make the playoffs and don't even have to play in the play-in.
Yeah, that's what, top 6 get in. Yeah. Well,
free and clear.
Without play-in. You may have to do a little bit better than that in order to crack that top 6, because the teams that are ahead of you, they have opportunities too. But
if you look at just the top 6, if you look at that 5 and 6 spot, you got the Raptors and the Sixers. The Sixers have absolutely gotten walked up and down the court like a dog the last 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
The Magic, the Heat are at 7 and 8. 2 wins and you've caught the Magic. The Sixers, they're trending down. The Raptors are so-so. Man, how bad does that buzzer beater feel now that the Raptors hit back in December?
Yep. Yeah. But they have opportunities, and all you can control is what you can control. Yeah. And so we'll see how that works. But real quick idea about tweaking the All-Star game. 3-on-3 and treat it like a relay race, where you have 4 legs. You've got one group that's playing that first quarter, another group the second, another group the third, another group the fourth.
Combined score. I like it. Oh, man, that could be intriguing, because then you have to, as a coach, if you're the coach of the teams, you have to figure out what's your best 3, how do they mesh, or how to take your whole group of all-stars and mesh them best 3, best 3, best 3, because, you're going to have a ball-dominant guard on each group. You're going to have some kind of big, like if you're in the East, for example, you'd want like a Giannis, a Embiid, just something crazy. I like that idea. Ooh! He comes up with a good one every now and again.
Well, even a blind hog will find an acorn. So
I thought that was a blind squirrel finds a nut.
Them too. But anyway, still on basketball, collegiate, and other stuff that goes along with college athletics. It's not just basketball, but it's just basketball season. Over at UNC Charlotte, which athletics likes to call Charlotte. Keep that in mind for branding purposes.
Don't go get us being bashed on no. Charlotte.
Absolutely. Nonetheless, the university, according to Chancellor Sharon Gaber, had told you a week ago that the university is close to naming a new athletics director. She said mid-March, and you also talk to alums, and they have their own ideas about stuff. Talk a little bit about that and how much of this will resonate.
Well, the goal, it was abundantly clear that the goal was to have someone hired by mid-March. That's not to say there won't be any hiccups. I know 49er fans are getting a bit restless. And fortunately for me, I talked to 2 that were a little bit more on the optimistic side. Now, they didn't mince words. They're like, look, it's taken a while. It's a situation where you want to get the hire right, so you don't want to rush the process. But at the same time, it's like, we haven't had an athletics director since the start of basketball season, and we're pushing towards the end of it. And maybe that was strategic. I don't know this to be a fact, but maybe they wanted just to get through basketball season and then let the next he or she candidate come in and make that decision on did Tamika Reed, did Aaron Fern do well enough, and just let them kind of not necessarily clean house. I'm not going to say everybody's going to come in, everybody's going to get the axe, but make decisions based on their total performance over the course of the year. If you bring in somebody in early December, and based on what the Charlotte men's team had done, it wasn't great. And so they would have had a more negative view. But then as January came, Charlotte started to build some momentum, and then now they've struggled, at least on the men's side. And then the women's team, they couldn't seem to buy a late fourth quarter win to save their lives for a 3-4 game stretch. And as of late, they've closed games out. So maybe it was strategic in bringing someone in after the season to let them look at a total body of work for the basketball coaches. And then, of course, baseball and softball season will kind of still be in its premature, early parts of the season. So maybe that was their target to have someone in place by mid-March to where you could look at total performance in basketball and then start assessing baseball and softball. I don't know. But what I do know is they can't afford to get this one wrong because we're in an era of college athletics where you have to know how to tap into the rev share, to big donors' pockets, to get NIL money. Because without NIL money, mid majors like Charlotte have no prayer, not a snowball's chance in Hades.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what you're going to see with this next candidate is someone that is fiscally wise.
Here's my view of the whole thing. Why does it take 4 months to come to a conclusion? It's not like you have to necessarily put the person in place. I mean, they could be a lame duck while they're still doing their other job. If you're talking about, well, okay, if you're at school X, okay, you're going to move on to Charlotte, play it out. It's not like it's a coach that's leaving where it's like, well, you can no longer do this, at least to me. Or are there candidates who aren't necessarily in the athletics realm or even in the collegiate realm in terms of campaigns or just bringing somebody in? Is it a business type person or is it an athletics type of person? Because the dynamics have changed so much until you maybe as a university, you might be wiser just to look at this strictly as a business proposition. Don't even worry about the athletic stuff. If you're talking about scheduling and all the other business that goes on, it's like, look, your job is to do one thing and one thing only: get us some money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not so sure if athletics administrators are necessarily the only pool that they may be looking at. And this is pure conjecture because I have no idea. Nobody knows what the university is doing. Maybe not even people at the university. So who knows? But to me, if what you're looking for, if you're university leadership, that individual has got to be money savvy, or at least being savvy enough to go in and get into those pockets, because the pockets are there, even if you're talking about corporate folks who have no alumni link to the university. But still, if folks can go in to a room and say, let's talk business, that individual, I think, would have a leg up if the university is interested in somebody with that type of background.
Yeah. I even had one alumni, they preferred to be left unnamed, and so I'll respect that. But they seem to think that this could be a situation where people may not look at the job as very high up on their totem pole, and they may have to be content with hiring Jesh Humphrey, the interim, as the next official AD. And wouldn't that be something? You're 2 years removed from hiring an interim basketball coach as the official, full-time heads men's basketball coach. To do that with an athletics director, Would that not be like the most on brand thing from Charlotte that we've seen over the last, say, 5 years?
Well, some people would say that wouldn't even necessarily be so Charlotte the university. Some would argue that could be so Charlotte the city. We're like, okay, well,
Contentment.
or we're going to do the hiring from within, even though it's supposed to be a national search. So who knows with that? But
I mean, of course, that's speculation from an alum.
mhm.
That did not come from Gaber, so I want to make that perfectly crystal clear. I don't want anybody calling my phone saying, "Did you invert?" No, I didn't. That was speculatory from an alum.
Absolutely. But
what Gaber said, and I did a Q&A with her. Timetable, obviously, we talked about mid-March. She's looking for someone who understands the changing landscape of college athletics, and has been able to navigate it successfully, demonstrates abilities to understand, generate revenue, build strong external partnerships. Talk about tapping into those pockets. We're talking not just alumni and donors. We're talking about big corporations in the city. Charlotte's booming.
Somebody's got some money.
The city is your oyster, for lack of better phrases. Take advantage of it. They are the R1 research university in the city. Take advantage of it. And she had a message to alums. She's like, she wants to assure them that the process is being done thorough. She doesn't want them to get too restless, but she even has alums or an alum on the search committee. So she's hearing them. She doesn't want them to feel like they're in the void, so to speak. She's hearing them, and they're doing the things essential to find the right candidate for the institution. But one thing is, she did say she's not sure if the next AD will bring a whole new staff with them, or if the current staff that is currently in place will stay. It's a bit too premature to necessarily know that definitively. But overall, her message was more so just to know that the alums are being heard.
Boy, but that process is so slow. It's almost torturous. So I feel your pain, Charlotte alumni, but hey, that's kind of like the way things roll when you're talking about colleges. It's a long process. It takes forever for some to even find a chancellor. So
it's a very odd analogy, but if you think about it, you're wanting to hire an AD that's going to be there a long time. So think about it in this wild analogy. I know some cases it has been done this way, but you don't want to get married in a month. You want to get to know a person, right?
And if you know you got the right one, sometimes
but
that works.
More times than not, people will date for several months, then get engaged. They'll be engaged for a year or so, and then get married. You don't want to rush this process. Now, you don't want to drag it out and be engaged for
forever,
3 years, and then wait to get married. But you want to make this decision with very careful deliberation, and I think they're doing that. But mid-March would be a good place to go ahead and pull the trigger and make an official decision.
Yeah, because by then you're right at the end of the academic year. You get a chance to bring the new person in and help them to acclimate and get up to speed, then make some decisions. But I think first and foremost, depending on whoever, regardless of whoever they bring in, they're going to have to make some clear-cut rules of the road in terms of this is the expectation. And this is your responsibility to make that come to fruition. So good luck, whoever you might be.
Yeah. But to put a bow on it, visit thecharlottepost.com, because that's what I'm on right now. You will find my reporting on the Hornets, both stories from an alumni's point of view, and the Q&A with Chancellor Gaber. You will find all of our sports reporting from Panthers with Jeff Hawkins. He just released a piece, I believe, on Luke Kuechly. Him making the Hall of Fame, as well as plethora of other stuff. You'll find our news reporting, our life reporting, A&E, health. I do a lot of health stuff too. But at the top, you will see subscribe and donate in the top right corner. We implore you to do both, but more so subscribe so you get the Charlotte Post at your fingertips, whether it be physical hard copy or the e-edition every week. We would love for you to do that, as well as subscribe to our sports newsletter. Came out this morning by this guy with my story of the alumni and what they want to see in the next AD as the main story, as well as other stories throughout the week. And we would appreciate if you do that, as well as wherever you get your podcast. There we go.
Yep.
SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Queen City Podcast Network. Do us a favor, subscribe to the podcast there, as well as click the little bell on YouTube if you like watching us every week. We would appreciate that. So from everyone here at the office in
beautiful Dorado,
that's the EIC Herb. I'm Cam, the staff reporter. Thank you for watching and listening.